Welcome to a new Team CGC 9.8 video. Today I wanted to recommend two modern CGC 9.8 comic books, and they're sort of variants or not first print comic books, and modern being just in the last year or two they had come out, so very modern books. And I think these two CGC 9.8s could get really hot here in the next, let's call it year or two. And even more than that, I actually think these two books, they could make a good case to sort of hold them for the long term, and that's what I kind of like to do. So you can't say that too much for modern books very often, where, you might want to hold them for the long term, and hopefully they just over time become more classic and more iconic. So I did mention they're kind of, one's a third print and one's like a variant, and, I'm always like, stick to the first prints kind of guy. But, that's generally for kind of like the 80s or 80s and 90s because, the second and third prints, a lot of the times they didn't even look any different. So it was like, you might as well just buy the first print, and that's the one that all the collectors want. So it just really makes sense to buy the first print for most 80s and 90s books, I would say. But modern books, obviously there's so many variants now, so many printings, and the cover looks completely different. So it's completely different, I would say, with modern books. So I got two here that, I would really, really recommend. I think you can make really good cases for both of them that they're really cool books to have, and they will be really cool for a very long time to come. And I always like that. So, first book here, I kind of brought out some sort of comparable books that I have too in my collection, and you'll kind of see how they compare. First book here, Miles Morales Spider-Man #1, and I'm talking about the animation variant. And I guess we'll say in the CGC 9.8 too. So this cover done by Javier Garron, who did the first print of this issue as well doing the animation variant. This one looks pretty much like an Into the Spider-Verse movie kind of homage or screenshot or whatever you want to call it. I've been sort of hunting for this one myself personally in the last, I would say, 6 months. And a lot of the times the shipping just didn't make sense to me to come to Canada, so I had to lay off. But some of the auctions of this have sort of went a little over $100, sort of, maybe reaching 110, one of them. And then sometimes a little bit under, kind of depending on how good the pictures look, I would say, maybe, and stuff like that. So, it's sort of a more wanted book, I think, than some of the other sort of Crane Virgin variants that go for like $60 in an auction or something like that. Those type of books will go in that kind of price range, just the other variants of this book in particular. So, and I think the reason for that, if you look on the census, obviously 17 CGC 9.8s in this animation variant for Miles Morales Spider-Man #1. So not a lot of them out there. So I think specifically in the CGC 9.8, some of these auctions, there are some people really wanting this book out there. And, right now, I think it's actually a really good time to buy this book. I know there's only 17 out there in the CGC 9.8. Certainly raw copies are great too. But we're in between, Into the Spider-Verse movies. The next one's coming out, I think, in the next year or two. And this book, I don't think will be about $100, in that environment with an Into the Spider-Verse 2 movie. So, you don't want to buy a book because the movie's coming out and things like that. But if you really like Spider-Man and Miles Morales, like I'm a big Spider-Man fan, and, I think this is a really good book to buy now. Like, it's kind of that environment you want to buy now because you don't want to buy it when that Into the Spider-Verse trailer drops. And then after that, I would assume all of these it'd be really hard to find it under $150 in that environment, and I bet you'd get, some, lack of a better word, noobs just sort of seeing the movie, getting pumped up and buying this for like $200 US. I could see that happening in Into the Spider-Verse movie. So, if you bought a couple of these now and the raw or the 9.8s, I would get a 9.8 too. On the census, you notice like 85% of them are CGC 9.8s. So the you might as well just get the 9.8. The 9.6s aren't. It's like maybe $20 more to get a 9.8, kind of around $100. Or a raw copy works too. But I think this is definitely one. I'm not a short-term guy at all. But if you could possibly get this for really good prices now, and then add that into the Spider-Verse movie, maybe try to sell it for more. But I just think it would be really good to enjoy the prices that you see if you picked up a couple here at really good prices, which would be, I think, about I would say $80 would be a very good price in an auction if you could find it, but like sort of 90 to 100 and, maybe a little over 100 is more realistic. And you know what, just, in the last day here, I actually made a deal for this book, and it was $99.99. And the shipping was a little bit over $20, actually. Normally I aim for $17.50 shipping is the cheapest. I can't get any cheaper shipping from the States to Canada than that. So that's what I usually aim for, and sometimes I'll go over 20 if I really want it. And this time I did a little over 20 bucks. I think it was like $22 shipping to Canada at $99.99 was the price. I sort of messaged this seller, actually, who had it up in an auction, and I just messaged him, hey, I'll buy it for $100 right now. And the first bid of the auction was set up at $99.99. So, yeah, I made a deal for $100 to grab one of these Miles Morales. Only 17 of them on the census, and I think it's a really cool cover. And I really like the Into the Spider-Verse movie, so I'm pretty pumped to have this. And I know I'm going to be happy with the prices that I see during the next movie. Okay, so yeah, one I would recommend, a new modern CGC 9.8, really cool variant, the animation variant of that Miles Morales Spider-Man #1. Next book here is Venom #3. So yeah, see, first appearance of Miles Morales and first appearance of Venom. So Venom #3 being a modern book here, the first full appearance of Knull, the God of the Symbiotes villain. And so I want to recommend the third printing with the Knull cover. Which, yeah, I'm pretty sure it's like a Ryan Stegman, J.P. Meyer, like, team-up on cover. But a really cool Knull cover, and, his first cover, basically. And this one's a little bit different on the census, because that animation variant, I think, is a bit more of an under-followed kind of pick. But this one, there's 246 CGC 9.8s of this third printing of Venom #3, the first appearance of Knull with, the cool Knull cover. And, 246 CGC 9.8s is quite a lot. This one, it's, you're more buying it for the coolness, I think, and the pride of ownership. I wouldn't really recommend this book as like a straight up investment grade book or anything like that. But if you can get it for a decent price, I think, and, in the next year or two here, I think this book does have a chance to get hot. Because, a book it kind of reminds me of is that Thanos book, the first Cosmic Ghost Rider, which in the CGC 9.8, most of those are going for over $200, and that's like a modern book, right? So I think this book has potential to kind of get to that price range in the next year or two. Yeah, this, this sort of first Knull cover, the third printing of Venom #3. Yeah, 246 CGC 9.8s on the census. 88% is the CGC 9.8 ratio, so most of them are CGC 9.8s. I was pretty surprised that like I was double checking and making sure that was the right one. Like I wasn't looking at the first print or anything, but so this is a little bit more of a popular book than the Miles Morales Spider-Man animation variant with only 17 in the CGC 9.8. This one with 246. So there's certainly a lot of people out there that want this book already. A lot of kids out there that really love Knull, and I think he's a huge part of that whole Donny Cates Venom story arc. So I think it's a great modern first appearance to have. And when you look at the first print, the cover is like cool, but it's underwhelming. It's a bit white, and it just has Venom's mouth and kind of a cool concept kind of thing, but nothing to really look at. And this one, it is the first appearance of Knull, and then you get Knull on the cover. Lots to look at, a lot going on this cover, and it looks really cool, I think. So, just kind of nailed it on this one. So even though there's 246 in the CGC 9.8, which is a lot for a modern book, I think that just means you can be patient here. I think every now and then, like a popular blog or a YouTube channel kind of talks about this book and kind of stirs up some demand for it. And some of the prices can, kind of get up there, but I think with 246 out there, if you are patient for like a month or two, you will see like a couple auctions. And I think if you, get this, maybe around 120. I know like the first print is sort of in that 125 to 150 range, and I have a feeling this book is more kind of going that range as well too. It's a lot harder to get this book closer to $100. So, when a third printing kind of becomes more than the first printing, or about the same as the first printing, that's something you want to sort of look at and see, and then, I think for new books, because the third printings are so different, this one having a really, really cool cover that you can really like, I think this has got a chance to, do really good in the next couple of years here, and even long term, this could just, the Venom #3 first print just might not be good enough for most collectors, and I know that feeling for sure, and, this one might be the one to kind of get if you're a Knull fan, and yeah, great cover. I think they nailed it on the cover, and a lot out there, so be patient on that one. Yeah, try to get it, maybe make it a goal to get it closer to 100. It's a modern book, so, you might be able to find a deal out there, and, maybe 125 to 150 would be kind of the higher range for that. Okay, 2 modern CGC 9.8 books. Yep, the Miles Morales Spider-Man #1 animation variant. Even, in the raw, these books too, I think work certainly, depending on your budget out there, right? And the second book was Venom #3, the third print, the first Knull cover. This book's the first full appearance of Knull, the god of the symbiotes. And this is the third print. Really cool cover. Yeah, I think both of these can do really good in the next couple of years here, and possibly be really good in the long term. And if not, like for me, I really want to buy Venom #3, this CGC 9.8 of it. Yeah, it's one I'm going to kind of drill down and, make sure I'm up on top of my searches. But, hopefully this video doesn't kind of get the prices getting all hot here, hopefully. But, no, I doubt it. But, and you know what? These 2, CGC 9.8 comics from my collection, highly recommend these 2 if your budget's a little bit higher. First, Miles Morales, Ultimate Fallout #4. And yeah, Amazing Spider-Man 300 with the first full appearance of Venom in the super low CGC 9.8 ratio. So it's very, very relatively rare in the CGC 9.8. Or, other, like, these are 2 of the best sort of investment grade books from the era I like to collect in. So I'd recommend these 2. But these other, animation ones I think are a little, are definitely under the radar. A different kind of pride of ownership you get from these. And the potential for them could be a little bit, maybe a little bit higher in the, the short term. Maybe not the long. I think, these are just great classic books. So, but nonetheless, if you're kind of a variant hunter and you like your third printings, or you're more of a modern book and maybe your budget just can't allow for these type of books, which is completely understandable. Yeah, I think these 2 books are really good. Yeah, Miles Morales, Spider-Man #1 animation variant, Venom #3 third print, first Knull cover. Alright, thanks so much for watching today. Yeah, I think lately we've been kind of just sticking to some sort of bread and butter 80s and 90s books that I think are really good investment grade books and undervalued ones, but wanted to do a modern book and get a couple, the modern comics that I was thinking about the most. And that's really what I just did for this. I was just thinking, what are the 2 kind of modern comic books that I don't really have? And obviously I just picked up, Miles Morales Spider-Man #1, the animation variant. But, yeah, what are the 2 that I'm just really, like, wanting a lot? And, these 2 kind of are the ones that are just so cool to me, kind of from the immediate modern age. And even, like, a quick honorable mention, like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle Jenica issues, I think, kind of neck and neck for these with, like, high potential modern age books. And I did a bunch of videos on the Jenica. I think it's probably about time to kind of do another Jenica video and just kind of go over everything again for all the Jenica issues, because there's a couple variants even more that I'm more familiar with. But don't want to blabber on too much. Thanks so much for watching today, and I really appreciate all the comments. And I did have a couple of internet issues the last couple of days here, so I had like 2 days off from making videos, but kind of back up and running today. So thank you very much for watching. I'll see you on the next video.